Hey, in the markets, we had a big update today, and very close to all-time highs. Today on the SPY, we did in fact touch an all-time high. Didn't quite close above the all-time high, but very rarely do you close at the very peak. In terms of the actual S&P 500, here it is. Our top today was 2088. The all-time high back on December 29th was 2093. Got a couple more points to go. Hard to see that not at least touching it for today or for tomorrow. This big move, even after two awful economic data points this morning when we had a retail sales decline of 0.8% following previous month of 0.9% decline. Worst set of declines in 5 years. Awful business inventory report, very similar to the wholesale inventories, where inventory build up to sales ratio was at an all-time high since Lehman. And anyone who doesn't watch the financial networks and actually reads the data points and puts them together and objectively discerns the details of the economy and the direction that we're headed knows that we're going to be in a recession very soon, if we're not already in one, unless the Fed starts printing more money, which I see as at some point that happening before they begin to raise rates. Because if they raise rates, it's going to be worse than it already is, and right now it's very bad. But in terms of the markets, they don't care. They just see bad numbers, which means more often than not, the Fed will be more quote unquote patient when raising rates. And if you spread this out, this might actually be the first time this entire year, and the year started here, that I've seen a decent pattern building. And we have a couple of potential monowaves right there or right there. And although this did not reach a 38.2 retracement, so we don't know where this thing's going to end up before it starts falling, it is certainly conceivable that since we didn't really make any all-time highs for what seems like 5 or 6 weeks, it is not out of the realm of possibility for this thing to continue going for quite a while. So me personally, I'm not going to be bearish in any sense until this particular line right here gets crossed. And there may be some pauses on the way up, but in general, I don't see it making a massive move down until this line right here gets crossed. The more I think about it, the fact that I said the term not an all-time high within the last 5 weeks is something absolutely absurd when you look at where the market has been for the last at least 3 years or so. Every single month we're making an all-time high of some sort. You just go all the way back, even something down here in mid-April. We're at an all-time high by mid-May. Same thing right here. We drop from 184 down to 174, and then not even 2 weeks later, we're already higher than when we previously dropped. I mean, this thing is just ridiculous for anyone who's traded for any length of time prior to the financial collapse, 2008. This is every time you turn around, you think it can't go much higher, and then it does. And without a major move or major calamity of some sort or bank failure, I don't see it going down anytime soon in a significant matter. Even right here, they're not going to let this happen again. Someone will come out and do an emergency stimulus or say that we need more money printing without actually doing it. So for the moment, all is well. Today's trade was on Amazon, and what we were looking at was this little consolidation over the past 5 days of right there and right there or so. And we said, all right, if that's the case, then we're going to have a target of at least 380, possibly 382.5. And we said this had to be completed by either today or tomorrow. And what we're looking at for a stop was this particular line right there, with a stop at around 371.5. That's what our stop was. We were going to go up, and here's what happened today. The minute chart, and right at the very beginning, it opens nearly right where it closes, which really surprised me considering the awful retail sales number that we had this morning. And as I noted yesterday, that Amazon is one of the largest, I think if not the largest, online retailer in the United States, and therefore would be subject to high discretion on days when retail sales came out. And so it opened, went a little lower, and what I was looking at right here, I said in the video yesterday that I wanted to have a little move down before I went in, and this is what I was talking about, because right at the open, the ask on the option was $1.84, and that's right at the open. But a minute later, as it starts to move down, the ask is now $1.64. So I saved 20 cents by waiting. We weren't in a huge hurry to get up, so I ended up getting in right around here for $1.52, and I bought 377.5 calls right there. And our stop was 371.5. And here's what happened right afterwards. We start moving in our direction. Continues to move up, and starts consolidating right here. And at this point, it's starting to slow move down. And at this point, if this thing would have taken off, or I should say gone down very, very quickly, that's when I would consider getting out. But because this thing is slowly creeping down, I'm waiting for a bounce. I'm not getting worried. I'm waiting for a bounce. And the bounce occurs right there. So right here, what I'm doing, after I see this gets crossed, after I see this thing retraces nearly right there above our 78.6 level, I know we're in for a move up. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm saying, okay, where's this thing going to stop? Because this is a Thursday, and we can't stay in forever. Time value will start decaying. Unless you're a stock trader, then the time decay doesn't matter to you. So our target right now is going to be 379, and that's what I'm looking to hit. And once I hit that, I'm out. Or I'm out once the next mono wave gets crossed downward. And so it continues on its way up. And at this point, what I'm doing is I'm drawing lines right here for the complex wave, as well as wave right there. So if this thing crosses this wave before it hits 379, I'm pulling out. And it continues to go up. It hits our 78.6, and then it crosses down. It doesn't hit our 379 target. So at this point, I get out right there, and I sell it for $2.99. And I don't immediately go bearish, but what I am looking for right here, after I'm completely out of my bullish trade, is I'm waiting for it to hit that 379, because I'm really glad this happened today, in stark contrast to our Netflix trade yesterday, which went absolutely perfectly, hit every target, and we got it at the peak. We didn't quite get out at the peak here, as you'll see in a minute, as this thing starts to take a move to the downside. The price of the option peaked right there for 335. And had I gotten out at the peak and sold it and somehow miraculously knew that right there, not assuming what happened to the past 2 minutes across down, but if I somehow had a crystal ball and knew that this thing wasn't going to hit my 100% target, I would get out there and I would take 36 cents more on the option. But we don't have a crystal ball. We have to trade on technicals. So at this point, here's what I'm looking at. Even though this thing crossed downward, didn't hit our target, and we're out of a profitable bullish trade, I'm still seeing, hey, maybe this might be the peak for the day. So let me draw this out for you. Right now, we are right here, consolidation, move down, right there, and here, let me draw another. That is 50% retracement right there. And so we continue on our way up. On our way up. But we don't hit our target. So what do we do now? It starts going back down like so. And that's where we get out. Right there. What do we do? You could go bearish knowing that this thing didn't hit its target. Or what could happen is what happened with Netflix yesterday, where we had the A right there. We had the B right here. And then the C in Netflix yesterday went like this. Up, down, and then up. And hit the target right there. At 100% extension. That could still certainly happen today. And that's what I'm waiting for. If it hits that today, that's when I immediately go bearish. Even though I'm already out of the bullish trade right there, that's my signal for me to go bearish. And that's what I'm waiting to happen. And back to the trade. It doesn't actually hit that because, as you'll see right there, it crossed. Not only does it cross our first support line for the zigzag, but it also crosses our 50% level right there. And what I'm looking at is that if it hits one extension level and crosses two below it, that means the pattern is finished. And therefore has a lot of bearish energy. So you could have gone bearish right here and made quite a bit on the way down. And this happens quite a bit, especially on Amazon. As you see, it starts moving steep down this way and then kind of steep, wrong line, and then kind of steep this way. And what I mean by that is that once we had our pattern of right there, down, and then up, and then the bearish pattern begins right here. This one started going down very, very fast and then kind of leveled off and went a little bit less. The slope of the line wasn't as big, and what that means is that the sellers don't have as much pressure in that. And once this happens, what I'm looking for is a cross of the resistance channel of this particular monowave, this particular portion of the monowave, I should say, because this whole thing is as long as it continues to go down. And once that gets crossed, that's your cue that depending on what time of the day it is, it could be time to go back bearish or bullish, I should say. And so this all works together, and you can see that there are certain pattern when you watch enough minute charts, you'll notice a lot of patterns that tend to happen throughout the day, and you'll notice they happen at certain times of the day. They happen with certain directions after certain patterns of the day, and so that's how I'm looking. And even though I'm only giving you guys one trade for the day in one direction, that doesn't mean I'm only trading that one time. I'm looking, even if I lose on this particular trade, you know, I trade on the motto, don't get mad, get even. And if I lose on this part of the trade, I'm going to win on this part of the trade and again on that part of the trade right there. So let me redraw, take some of these arrows off right there. And what I mean by the steep line, this. Line 1 was steep like this. Line 2 was less steep. And if this thing begins to cross before, say, 11 to 11:30, because that's usually when the market takes over, and whatever direction the market is going, that's usually what happens throughout the trade. And you know, I'm not here to guess what the market's going to do. Anything can move the darn thing, and God only knows what people are thinking, who's buying back shares, who's doing what in Greece. If I were to guess what direction the market was going to go every single day, I'd be out of business. But some of these smaller volume stocks compared to the market, they move in their own accord, and it's very predictable once you know certain technical patterns and knowing the strength of the buyers, the strength of the sellers, what they're thinking throughout the day about when to buy, when to sell, and that sort of thing. And so once this thing gets crossed right there, it continues to go down, but it definitely recovers and continues to go right back up right there. And we finish up for the day by about 2.5 points, but our trade was over within the first half an hour. Bought something for 152, sold it for 299, and we have a 97% return on our trade. And this is the move that I was looking for yesterday in Amazon. This big move that we didn't quite get back over here. We got it halfway through, but these Amazons, Netflix, Baidu's, most of their move happens within the first hour and a half or so. After that, it just kind of fizzles out most of the time. And so we got in our trade, we got our profit, we're looking, and then we start looking for other opportunities right there. So for tomorrow's trade, I'm not going to do any more of the videos like these for a little while. I've had a few for a couple of weeks up there. You can look at them from days past on my trades since the end of last month, and I'm going to continue to do this, but not as frequent as every day. What I am going to do is I'm going to summarize all the videos and the results that I've had for the past couple of weeks and put them in a video and post it over the weekend so you guys can see what my returns are. Every single one of these videos and trades that I've placed were based entirely on technicals. There were trades that I saw the night before and placed the following day. You guys know where my trades are going to be before I even make them. They're not based on what somebody told me. They're not based on what companies are buying back shares or some insider at Goldman Sachs or something like that. These are trades where I have a technical reason to get in, a stop on the trade where, by God, if we hit that stop, we're out no matter what, because you don't want to throw away your hard-earned money on the trades. I'll be putting something out, like I said, over the weekend, and I'll summarize the profits that I made, the losses that I took, based on a certain account size and amount based on that trade, because I don't put half my account into one trade at a time. That's pretty stupid. Unfortunately, I've seen and heard of too many people doing that, and I'll explain all of that and put it all together for you, so you can we have 10 days worth of trades, not including the break even on the very first one that I did, and we'll put it all together. We'll see how we did, and I look forward to doing that video and showing it to you. So enjoy your Friday, have a great weekend, and I hope Valentine's Day turns out great for every single one of you. Take care, everybody.